International Labour Organization, United Nations, OECD, and the International Organization of Employers, amplifying our influence on the global stage. Scope holds positions on the governing councils of national fora like the National Productivity Council, the National Safety Council, and the Tatapan Tengri National Board for Workers' Education and Development. Scope also represents PSEs on statutory bodies like the Employees Provident Fund Organization, Employee State Insurance Corporation, and more. Our comprehensive initiatives bring together industry experts and stakeholders, empowering enterprises through knowledge sharing, skill development, and innovation. We equip enterprises with expertise to tackle challenges and drive innovation through studies and research. Scope has also fostered partnerships with renowned academic and professional entities, jointly pursuing research in key areas such as women's empowerment, climate change, digitalization, and more. And by promoting achievements and positive impact through strategic communications, virtual platforms, compendium, and special publications highlighting the achievements of PSEs, we enhance visibility and public confidence. Keeping with the evolving global dynamics, Scope Awards continue to celebrate performance of PSEs in various areas. One of Scope's standout achievements is the upcoming Scope Social Interaction Center, as it takes steps to establish a first-of-its-kind interactive facility for the PSEs, designed with world-class social, cultural, and recreational amenities. Moving ahead, Scope is determined to deepen its presence on national and international forums, explore new partnerships, scale and build capacities of PSEs in sunrise areas, and create a conducive learning and development environment through initiatives like Corporate Leadership Development Program. Scope has been serving the public sector for nearly 5 decades, but for us, the journey to transcend newer heights of excellence has just begun.
As India took its stride as an independent nation, public sector enterprises, PSEs, committed to play a path-breaking role, overcoming disparities for self-reliance in production and services, fostering a better tomorrow with the country's unexplored resources. Undeterred, CPSEs have grown from 5 to 402. CPSEs in nearly 7 decades, adding to the country's wealth. CPSEs continue to display a stellar performance with their presence in all strategic sectors. PSEs have changed the landscape of the country's economy, placing India on the global industrial map. PSEs are major contributors to 85% of the country's total coal production. While the country is the second largest producer of crude steel,
eminent members of the Scope Executive Board, CMDs, directors and senior officials from the public sector fraternity, senior members from ILO and experts from various fields. We are grateful to all for their time to us for this very important event. We are also happy to share that this release event is being telecasted live on our YouTube channel along with social media handles of Scope. Capacity building and skill enhancement has been a very important subject to Scope, and hence this study has been very strategic for all of us, especially in light of the global movement towards skilling, reskilling and upskilling. Hence, where it has been ensured that the study is based on a well-researched methodology, we are also extremely proud of the fact that the study, like all of our researches, is outcome-oriented and encapsulates insightful recommendations. But before we see what the study entails, let us hear from Director General Scope how the study came into existence. So, I invite Mr. Atul Sopti, Director General Scope, to please present his thoughts on the same and open the event with his address. Sir is a visionary leader having a versatile professional experience of nearly 4 decades. Before leading Scope as Director General, Sir was CMD BHEL, a Maharatna public sector enterprise. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Barun. Madam Michiko Miyamoto, Director, International Labour Organization, our Mr. Sandeep Kumar Gupta, Chairman Scope and CMD GAIL, Ms. Rashmi Goyal, Director HR, Indian Oil Corporation, our friend Mr. Ravi Paris, Senior Specialist, Employers Activities, International Labour Organizations, Chief Executives, Directors and Senior Executives of Public Sector Enterprises, Senior Officials from ILO, Senior Officials from UNICEF, ladies and gentlemen who have joined here in person as well as virtually, a very good morning to all of you. It's indeed a pleasure for me to witness an august gathering which is representing not only many years of experience in the public sector but also in the dynamic field of human resources and its effective management. The fact all of us have gathered here to witness the release of first of its kind study on the skill speaks volume on the significance of this subject, not only in the life cycle of an organization but on the most important resources for any organization, that is its people. With this, I am taking this opportunity to once again welcome all of you as we launch the groundbreaking study on the skill profiles in public sector enterprises, which has been jointly undertaken by International Labour Organization and Standing Conference of Public Enterprises. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, importance of skill cannot be overemphasized, especially in today's world, where the world of work is impacted by many changes. Industry is evolving, technology is advancing, global borders are diminishing, and a very typical concern is being faced by all organizations across the globe. In fact, I have interacted with many organizations in my various capacities and can understand that skilling is one of the most important aspects which most of us are facing, and we see that skill mismatch is there sometimes, and majority of the times I will say vis-a-vis job profile and resulting in recruitment of either overskilled or underskilled manpower. And for India, this is very, very important aspect. The reason is, as you know, 2/3 of our manpower that is employable, and we have got the demographic advantage, but the issue is this window is available only for the 30 years. We have to make use of this, and we have to make all efforts that the skill gaps they are addressed, and we take this advantage of this demographic dividend. So skilling and lifelong learning have to be viewed only as a valuable assets, but essential tools for navigating the complexities in our modern economy. This has been discussed at various forums. In fact, in 2021, June 2021, in the International Labour Conference, there was a deliberation on this particular subject, and where the International Labour Organization, they had recognized the transformating potential of the skills, and Scope also had the opportunity to deep dive on the subject of skills and lifelong learning. And during this time, I had the privilege to participate as a member of drafting group, which was entrusted with the responsibility of suggesting on the most effective elements of skills and lifelong learning in future world of work. Being a part of that 8 employers representative from across the world to deliberate on various aspects, including challenges and opportunities for skill and lifelong learning, skill systems present and required, and role of responsibilities for realizing the transformative potential of world of skills for over 180 countries which are members of ILO was discussed. And for India, I found that it's much more relevant. The reason is we are growing from strength to strength, and today we are the 5th largest economy in the world and having a lot of demographic dividends, which I had mentioned you earlier. Now the point is, when we come to the public sector, they contribute close to 14% of the Indian GDP and have the dominant presence in all the strategic sectors of the economy, employ nearly 1.5 million of the direct workers and much more indirect workers. So it's very, very imperative that the country has to bridge the skill gaps. Then public sector have to come forward for skilling, reskilling and upskilling, and to sustain their own relevance and effectiveness in the future itself. The point is that all of you would agree, when we talk of skilling, especially in the organized sector, always we talk the skilling is primarily for the workers, for the labor. It's a general perception is there, skilling means labor. But the point is that when we had the deep dive into it, there is a Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. They have already universally benchmarked the National Skill Qualification Framework for varied levels of the executives in the organization. So this message has to go that in NSFQ have already been formulated. So seeing the need for the skill gap, Scope under the guidance of the board members, many of them are here, we propose to engage a joint study with the ILO to understand the skill landscape in public sector enterprises, their alignment to the NSQF, and also how the same need to further align with regard to future of work. We thought that this is a very, very important subject, and I am very extremely happy that once we proposed to ILO, and like always, ILO supported our proposal. Thanks to ILO, and after much deliberation with Ravi and his team and all the members, the project commenced. And today it's a matter of pride that with the relentless efforts of both ILO and Scope teams, months of work has been done in this regard, and with the active support and hard work of Dr. Nikhil Raj, the consultant for this project, today the study is finally seeing the light of the day. While Dr. Nikhil and Ravi will enlighten the peculiarities and nuances of the study, how it is useful for the PSEs, I would like to briefly say that this is the first of its kind study, encapsulates the skilling landscape of the public sector enterprises and also looks at the expectations of the target group. I am confident that this study would prove to be meaningful for all, as it would help them not only in identifying the alignment of their organization with the NSQF, but will also facilitate determining and developing the most relevant sectoral training programs. Because this study also identified various in the 4 sectors, which are the kind of training program which need to be conducted. Extensive work was done in this particular study, and I am thankful that many of the public sectors who are present here, they participated in this study. Thanks to all of them. And in fact, ultimately, we have also discussed assessing the preparedness of the sectors with respect to required skills and also the emerging areas of the green skills and the just transition. That's an area which we have already discussed also. In this journey for equipping PSEs with better skills so as to make them future ready, I am happy that, like always, ILO under the leadership of Ms. Michiko has extended their full support and guidance from their experts. Now, as I mentioned, the months of hard work culminates in the form of this report. It's my urge and request to all of you. This is a beautiful study. You just see 180-page study is this, and quite an extensive. Sometimes it become boring also reading, but just go through that. And the people who are in this field, they will find that the kind of work which has been done, and this will be available on our website after the release. And in the executive summary, specific plans, proposals have been given for the 4 sectors also. And please share among your colleagues and organizations also, so that all of us can make benefit of it and help to becoming a major global economy, making the role of the public sector more enhanced. I like to say that the study is not the end, rather it's a beginning of our journey. It is a beginning. We have just find out that what are the areas which need to be addressed. Now we need to work together for bolstering the skill ecosystem in the country. We have deliberated internally also and with IL also that what could be the way forward, but I will urge and request all of you to suggest us that with your inputs and suggestions that what more can be done in future, and I'm sure that with the ILO support we would be ready to take it further. Ladies and gentlemen, given our wealth and talented human resources, it's important to harness the right potential amidst the dynamic times of today. So let us all embrace the pivotal moment and collaborate to propel our public sector, our industry to new heights of achievement, shaping a legacy of excellence for our great nation. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for sharing with us the genesis and the journey of the study, which definitely deepens our appreciation for its significance. Now, let us hear the industry perspective on the subject, and for this, I invite Mr. Sandeep Kumar Gupta, Chairman Scope and CMD, GAIL India Limited. Mr. Gupta has a wide experience of over 3 decades in the oil and gas industry and has held very strategic positions in leading PSEs in the country. Over to you, sir, to share your expectations from the study.
Respected Michiko Miyamoto-chan, Director International Labour Organization, Mr. Ravindra Paris, Senior Specialist Employers Activities International Labour Organization, Mr. Atul Sopti, Director General Scope, Ms. Rashmi Govil, Director HR Indian Oil Corporation Limited, Senior Officers from ILO, Chief Executives, Directors and Senior Executives of Central Public Sector Enterprises, and all ladies and gentlemen present here and those connected through web, a very good morning to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure as we are gathered here for the release of a groundbreaking study titled Skilling for the Future in PSEs, an ILO scope study on skills profile in PSEs. This study, focusing on the pivotal aspect of skills, has been jointly undertaken by the International Labour Organization and the Standing Conference of Public Enterprises, and the scope is truly honored to be part of this collaborative endeavor, which holds immense significance for the future of public sector enterprises. I believe that the study is being released at an opportune time, as the importance of skills in the present dynamics cannot be stressed enough. Skills not only empower individuals to adapt to new technologies, market demands, and professional challenges with agility, but are key for individuals to remain relevant in an ever-evolving professional landscape. Continuously investing in upskilling and reskilling can ensure that individuals can effectively respond to shifting industry demands and technological advancements, ensuring that they remain valuable contributors in their respective field. I believe that it will not be wrong to state that the significance of skilling has evolved from a position of advantage to that of a strategic necessity for individuals and organizations today to thrive amidst the dynamic environment of these days. It is this aspect that SCOPE and ILO have explored through this collaborative study, wherein an effort has been made to pave way for skilling and reskilling the present workforce of the PSEs, with an aim to ensure their continued relevance in their current roles while fostering a culture of lifelong learning. This report contains some perceptive and compelling recommendations that have the potential to significantly enhance our approach to skill development, and I trust that we will leverage this resource to the maximum to ensure that our professionals are primed to evolve as proficient leaders of tomorrow. I must say that much thought has gone in to make this study relevant and impactful, as it helps PSEs at two levels. One, strengthening their skills gap, thereby making their present workforce robust. And second, understanding what needs to be proactively undertaken so as to make the workforce future ready, thereby outlining specific steps that organizations can take to ensure that they are ready for the future world of work. By embracing these recommendations and fostering a culture of continuous learning, we can empower individuals to unlock their full potential and drive meaningful change in our organizations and communities. I strongly encourage all the PSEs to explore the report and also circulate the same amongst your respective organizations. Through collaborative efforts and a steadfast commitment to skill development, we can pave the way for a brighter and more prosperous future for all of us. In the end, I want to express my sincere appreciation to ILO and SCOPE for doing an exceptional job in making a diligent attempt to justify such a vast subject in the most simplistic manner. We are grateful to the continued support of ILO to SCOPE and look forward to strengthening our association and join forces on more pertinent areas in the future to drive meaningful progress in the public sector fraternity to ensure upkeep of their vital contribution to the Indian economy. And I am also extremely happy that SCOPE took up this initiative of this study, as the capacity building or skill updation remains an important cornerstone of our mission as SCOPE. And you would be also aware, and if not, you will be glad to know that SCOPE is also working with Capacity Building Commission in this particular direction of enhancing the capacity building in the public sector executives. So with this, I again compliment SCOPE and ILO for this study and wish this study finds a good use in the organizations and the individuals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting how skills have moved from a position of advantage to that of a strategic necessity. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment that we all have been waiting for has arrived, as we will now be formally releasing the study, Skilling for Future in PSEs, an ILO scope study on skills profiles in PSEs. To mark this significant moment, I would request our esteemed guests on the dais to kindly do the honors and unveil the study. This study represents months of dedication, meticulous analysis, and a relentless pursuit of enhancing the capacity of the public sector fraternity, and it is indeed a proud moment for all of us at SCOPE and ILO as we now dedicate this transformative study to the entire public sector fraternity. Continuing our endeavor towards sustainability and the environment, The study will be hosted on the websites of SCOPE and ILO. We are certain that it will prove to be a valuable resource for the PSEs that will enable them to assess and enhance their skilling initiatives to drive innovation and foster development of their professionals. Now, let us hear about the significance of skilling in the present times and invite the guiding force behind the study, Ms. Michiko Miyamoto, Director ILO. Ms. Miyamoto is a seasoned leader who is dedicated towards advancement of decent work worldwide. With the multifaceted tenure at ILO, Ms. Miyamoto brings 3 decades of expertise and as Director ILO continues to drive impactful change on an international scale. Over to you, ma'am, for your insights and thoughts with us.
Respected, I need a stand, for the height. Thank you for that. Respected Chairman Sandeep Kumar Gupta, respected DG Mr. Atul Soti, Scope, esteemed leaders of industry present today, members and colleagues from Scope, ILO colleagues, Ravi, senior expert on employers' activities, and other colleagues from ILO office who are also responsible working in this field. And ladies and gentlemen, namaskar. It is really an honor and also a pleasure to address this audience today for this important occasion. As Mr. Gupta and Mr. Soti have already spoken on the importance of strategic focus on skills development, we, the ILO and SCOPE, are very proud to present this valuable report that speaks to the aspiration of skilling for the future of PSEs. As the previous speakers mentioned, this is quite rare, I must say, to see such studies coming out for the public sector. So I truly value the outcome of it, not only useful, I believe, for the SCOPE members, but very useful for the ILO as well. So thank you for the collaboration, first of all, for us to also learn the most updated content of this sector's requirement for skills. So Director General already explained about a little bit of the background of this joint collaboration. So after this COVID pandemic, 2022 to 23, disruption of all this industry brought to our lives, ILO started to engage with employers and business organizations to understand the priorities to move forward, how to recover economically, but also looking at human-centered recovery from the pandemic to the vision building the resilience for the future. As Mr. Gupta mentioned, we are not only looking at the enterprises as an entity, but we have to empower individuals, and that's the best way we look at the human-centered approach. Individual in each setting need to be relevant. I think that's a very good statement that we heard. And I'm very pleased that SCOPE is very keen to pursue this based on the evidence-based approach, such as the report today. Now, among so many priorities, of course, there are many priorities that public sector needs to take on. Well, skilling for the future came as one of the top elements, as critical and cross-cutting theme that ILO and constituents needs to take on. And I must acknowledge that SCOPE leadership was so proactive in taking up this issue. resulting in this very report that we just launched. And we have with us today to be able to look into the content together. We worked together with Scope all through last year to collect valuable inputs from a cross-section of enterprises among Scope membership. And at the outset, I must thank all of you who came forward to facilitate the responses from your respective organizations. And I must also commend Scope's commitment to coordinating the data collection process over some months, many months. I don't know how long it took, actually. It's not an easy task, so throughout the last year. And of course, kudos to Dr. Raji and the team to putting all together the data collected throughout this process to make it comprehensive in terms of analysis presented to us. So access to equitable skilling and orientation to an approach of lifelong learning, which was very well articulated by Mr. Atul Soti, as he discussed at the International Labour Conference. He was a drafting committee. I'm very impressed. So this has been a center stage of discussion, especially post-COVID, how we brought up the skills issue moving forward for the future of work. Not only for the ILO, but also entire UN's work is very much promoting employment enterprise issues in India in that perspective. So I would like to draw attention that we have the 5-year country program with India from ILO. So it's called Decent Work Country Program, which was signed by our ILO's tripartite constituents, which means employees organizations, workers organizations, and the government, where we commit ourselves to the development of inclusive and resilient skills, and especially on lifelong learning systems. And I just wanted to put that on the table because three constituents, because lifelong learning cannot be achieved just by enterprises, cannot be achieved just by the managers. It includes the commitment by the workers and government policy to support it. So hopefully ILO can continue to work and support in that sense on tripartite manner, so the dialogue on this important issue can continue. And on the workers' organization, I must also say that skilling was never a top priority in the past, but recently we recognize that keen interest coming from trade unions and workers' side because it matters and it becomes a necessity for them as well. So that is a very good sign, as the commitment from the workforce is essential for the success of reducing the gaps, what we just heard from the two speakers. How do we reduce the gaps, mismatch? We need everyone to be on board. And since we have so many issues that affect the important skills that is linked to greening skills, and we need to look at the skills related to how to deal with environmental changes and digital issues as already presented, including AI, what's going to happen to the public sector. So those are the effects that we need to look into, continuously looking into the labor market. And the agenda of skilling for the future offers an opportunity to promote intergenerational equity and increase participation of youth and women, as India strives to increase the participation of women in the labor force. So this is an opportunity to grab for sure. Now, digital platform, green jobs, and I will add care economy as well. Now, this was highlighted in G20 hosted by Government of India. Those areas has emerged as essential aspect of the labor market of the 21st century. These findings and recommendations of this report will no doubt will help us to maximize the returns, both in terms of productivity and workers' well-being. And best way to, I repeat, empower your individual workforce is to upskill them, making sure they have the skills they need, making sure they have opportunity to access for skills training. And it goes without saying that no one else is better placed to lead this transition than the public sector, which is, of course, fifth largest economy of the world in this country. Contribution from public sector is 15 to 16%, which is of India's GDP. When I came to India, I was really surprised how large the figure is. Quite impressive, especially when you look at the volume of the activities in India itself. So the impact extends truly beyond not only the direct employees under this sector, but also indirect impact to it, and also communities linked to it. Because public sector, you are the most connected sector in servicing community in many aspects. So it's not, your success is not just your entity itself, it extended to all the community in India. So for that, it also significant. So PSEs recognize this and embracing the efficiency, innovation, flexibility, and your understanding of this subject, how important it is to stay relevant, invest in your people, invest in your future thinking, and that's going to present overall optimistic future for this country. So this study, ILO scope, highlights significant shift in the skills landscape. And technical aspect, of course, we always taught in school, we have to learn the technical skills. That exists. However, all of us knows technical expertise alone is no longer enough. All the other skills that come along, soft skills, strategic thinking, these are equally important. Our middle management needs continuous upskilling. As PSEs, we must bridge skills gaps effectively and empower workforce with the right tools to thrive in a dynamic world. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am confident that all of us stand together in realizing the collective vision, our mission for Viksit Bharat by 2047. I urge the leadership of Indian PSEs to adapt the mantra of skilling for the future and adapt the workforce to lead the world. As I mentioned, India is large, and in India, public sector is quite strong and large proportion, which means if you are successful, the world would be successful. So with this hope and appeal, I once again extend my gratitude to all the public sector enterprises participated in this study, and let's work and act on these findings and invest in our people together, which will secure our future together. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your attention. Namaste.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing wonderful insights with us and reiterating the importance of skilling, for the public sectors. And also thanks to you once again for committing ILO support in this very important endeavor. I would now like to invite the researcher behind the study, Dr. Nikhil Raj, for presenting the key findings and valuable insights of the report. We welcome you today, and I request my colleague to please present Dr. Raj with a planter as a token of our gratitude for his dedication to develop a meaningful and comprehensive study for the public sector fraternity. The floor is all yours.
Warm good morning to honorable dignitaries on the stage. The leadership of the public sector enterprises in the country. As a student of economics many years back, almost 35 years back, I remember the first thing that we were taught, a lecture that was given by the then Prime Minister, that the PSEs are expected to achieve the commanding heights of the economy. And later on, even when I started teaching, I was using this vehemently to explain what does the commanding height mean. The relevance still remains today, and thank you for all your support in this exercise. Esteemed colleagues from ILO and SCOPE to give your time and continued guidance. I'll take about 15 odd minutes. The report is there before you, just to highlight some of the key things that we did in this process. Essentially, the study was to understand what is the scale landscape across certain key sectors. And these key sectors, after a set of deliberations with SCOPE and ILO, they were identified as 4, basically energy, manufacturing and construction combined, because I mean that was the decision that we took. The third was the metals and minerals, having that organic link, and the fourth was the services sector. The 4 sectors we understand contribute a large part of the Navratnas, the Maharatnas, and also the Mini Ratnas. So what we've done is that we took a set of these sectors, we reached out to as many public sector enterprises with support from Honorable Samriddhi ji, and we got huge response. The study is based upon approximately 1,217 responses that we obtained from across a range of people in the differentiated cohort of middle management. So the first thing that this has been able to discern is, and this contribution of the study is, that yes, one needs to look at a differentiated lens. Middle management is heterogeneous. And how does it link up with a broader sectoral framework? That was our next objective. And this objective is that in 2013, when the National Skills Qualification Framework came, that's when it allowed these job roles, competencies, skills, etc. Across a range of levels. At that point of time, the levels were from level 1 to 10. Incidentally, as Madam Michiko was talking about, the study was also extended because as we were in the process of the study, in June 2023, and thanks to Samriddhi ji for highlighting, hey Nikhil, flagging us up, that there is a recent notification from the National Skills Qualification Framework, and Ruchira ji also then pushing me. I said, no, it cannot be, we are just changing our goalposts. They said, no, if we have to remain relevant, let's be updated. Thank you for nudging me into that. And I can see the kind of the gathering that we have of the celebrities here is in the faith that is reposed on the findings of the study. June 2023, etc., we started collecting the extensive data, and must tell you, this is even in the morning when I was going through, just before the exams, that one takes all these, the last minute question papers, answer sheets. I was going through and I was just saying, oh my God, this is a 180-page report. I mean, when I finished my PhD was perhaps just about, thesis was 165, 170 odd pages. This is more than that. And time and again, in fact, to Honorable DG Sopti and to Rujiraji and all colleagues, Raviji, I said, listen, I mean, the kind of quantum of data that we have in my honorable research team, we looked at it, it was 12,000 kinds of skill sets. It was a difficult, challenging exercise. Why I'm trying to take you through this process, honorable ladies and gentlemen, is that the methodology was not sticking itself to certain known things and then, getting a kind of a very closed-ended response. We left it open. Obviously, we being students of economics, we don't know what does O&M mean. We don't know what does document control mean. We don't know what does strategic thinking in a public sector, and that also across various hues and shades is concerned. And therefore, we said that let's try and get as many responses in terms of the skills. Even as part of the process, and this process is important, ladies and gentlemen, because even before developing the questionnaire, we started reaching out to certain select representative PSEs who were based out of Delhi and over phone also, to understand that what is the kind of spread of skill sets that we should be putting in there. And that's when we decided, no, a closed-ended questionnaire will not work. That's when we said that, okay, the National Skills Qualification Framework in link with the National Credit Framework. And with these, then we said that, okay, we have to understand the theoretical and technical skills, which we know are very critical for the public sector enterprises. But at the same time, the National Skills Qualification Framework, sir, ma'am, it talks about the functional skills, the generic skills, and the behavioral skills. They are equally important as one moves up the middle management cadre. Just a broad breakup of the sample. I'm not going to repeat it, but depending upon the responses we have got, we were able to carry out good, significant analysis. Coming to one thing very important, from the perspective of the behavioral skills, etc., it was also important to ensure that there is a considerable gender breakup in the sample. Thanks to Samriddhi that we took her help and we requested the director HRs in the various organizations, many of whom are present, that please ensure that lady colleagues also do respond. The questionnaire was a bit lengthy. I'm sorry for that, but then it wouldn't have been possible without your valuable time, and deeply appreciate and grateful for that. There is almost like kind of a 10-12% breakup in this study. Now, the National Skills Qualification Framework goes from level 1 to 8. Anybody and everybody in the country, as per the NSQF June 2023 thing, can be pegged along level 1 to level 8. Now the level 8 being the top level, the CMDs, the chairman, etc. And the level 1 could be anybody, in the supply chain, starting even from a person who may be engaged at the administrative level, could be an administrative officer or an administrative assistant. These levels, when we looked at, then we reached out during the course of the study that where do we classify these people, because there were designation differences across organizations. Now somewhere we found that we were getting responses from senior managers, then we had a deputy manager, and there is also a chief technical officer. There is also some kind of a chief operations officer. There are people, we were not aware that when I started the study, I said that, okay, it was going to be very standard. So senior managers, AGM, DGM, deputy GM and GM, and that's all. But it is not so. That was an eye-opener for us. That's when we reached out to Samriddhi ji and we said that, listen, we need your help. How do we classify these? And that was important because all analysis is contingent upon this classification. The moment we said that it is not uniform, it is a heterogeneous. The middle, as we know that the tetrahedral structure of a typical diamond, the middle is always white and the middle is big. That's what the demographic dividend, what DG Sopti was talking about. So when we looked at it, that's when we said that no, these people can be classified across 3 levels, and the National Skills Qualification Framework, the lowest one in the middle management, we classified them at NSQF 4.5 to 5, and then upwards. You can always see that there is a bulge in the middle kind of a thing, and then the topmost among the this thing. We reached, in fact, there were responses even from GGMs. So in some organizations, just to give you an example, but then even GGMs in some organizations were considered as the top level of the middle management. These, just one sec. So these levels we have for operational purposes in the study, when you read, we have just defined as only for operational purposes. Nothing else is the lower mid-management, middle mid-management, and the senior mid-management. That's it. It's only for analytical purposes. Let me just briefly give you some of the broad sectoral findings. If you look at, ladies and gentlemen, there is a kind of existence of sectoral knowledge and latest developments in the operations and maintenance. There is quite, as far, and this is only, I'm just talking about the technical and the professional skills as per the NSQF. So within the NSQF, we found that this kind of people are thinking that for my job, essential skills are XYZ. Some of these we have listed. Now, which are the important ones? Going by the global standards, what we did was that we found that the top 10 skills in each, we have tried to present it in the report. Because, first from 12,000 and under each category, clubbing it to, it was like from 400 to 600, all my colleagues will agree here. And I have to tell them, no, nothing done. First, let's get down to 40 first. And then we will go to 10 or 20, 30 like that. So it was a kind of a intensive exercise for clubbing the skill sets as well. Because we did not want to create those errors of assumption, omission, and commission. Yet, no study is perfect, so there will be some challenges. But as I say, you are the experts. We are, as an outsider, we have tried to look at it, and thank you for your understanding and support. One of the important things that we have found is that as far as the technical skills, what are the essential ones in the energy sector is concerned, there is a kind of uniformity across the levels, all the 3 NSQF levels. Interestingly, for the middle management, in the mid-level, they have felt that asset security skills are important, cyber security and asset security, and therefore, these are some of the new things, new age skills that may be required, the 21st century skills, what we call as the IR 4.0. So that is what is becoming important. For the SMMs, the senior mid-management, the aspects of procurement skills were seen as essential. And as I say this, the subsequent ones for the different sectors, you will also find that there is a similarity, because these kinds of skills at the top level are akin to reporting, regulatory compliances, ESG, etc. And therefore, there is a kind of a convergence at the top level of the middle management to understand what are the essential skills. Few quick ones that the LMMs, those at the lower level of mid-management, they are good at, they have found training in execution skills. And for the SMMs, it is important, as you said, Madam Michiko, that about the problem solving. Now that is an important part where people in the energy sector are getting some of these things. This is just a sprinkling of what we look at, apart from the whole issues of data analytics and planning and preparing DPRs. But what is the overall analysis? I mean, few things that are important is that AI was perhaps not seen, artificial intelligence was not seen as an important skill. I mean, when we say these did not figure among the top 10 skills, it did not mean that we did not have any responses, but these did not figure among the top 10. The other was whole issues related to the sustainability, the renewables, particularly when we are talking of the energy sector and all the 4 sectors that we have dealt with here. I mean, they have strong implications as far as the renewables are concerned, the net zero, etc. And we found that less than 2% looked into felt that these were essential skills. The second was something on which ILO in June 2022 agreed to expand its fundamental principles and rights at work. The 5th pillar was added, which is occupational safety and health. That was also not seen as a kind of high level of priority in terms of it being an essential skill. While we say this, we also admit in the report that there are training on HSE happening. It's not to say, and it's a kind of a nomenclature, but the sample threw up showed that yes, this is still not a technical skill. And the opportunities for skill application, whatever we have got, is kind of limited. So there is the honorable leaders of the directors of HRs and all the leadership here, our urge through the findings of this study would be maybe, harnessing the investments in skilling through better job rotation, and that we have highlighted, or deputation onto some other projects. Moving on to very quickly to the manufacturing, again a kind of a fair degree of there is some variability as far as the skills perceived that are essential, and it is about the sectoral knowledge. So in the manufacturing sector and the construction sector, people felt that yes, one needs to have solid sectoral knowledge, information, and the skills for adaptation. These are seen as among the top ones. Soft skills, negotiations, and sales techniques again vary. And if you look at it here, again, just a nomenclature difference: procurement skills, regulatory, and contract management. I mean, these are all again coming to be the similar ones which are there for the top management within this. Once again, the concern was that the little or less importance to the whole issue of green skills, sustainability, again AI, net zero, something on quality assurance. Now for manufacturing and construction, this also becomes important as an area. However, there have been a kind of trainings that have happened on the data analysis, the knowledge of training processes. An important thing what we have seen here is that in many of these samples, the senior middle management, they have come across that they would like to have the skills related to the training processes. So herein lies a cohort which is willing to contribute to the sectoral needs. And therefore, because obviously they having had 25, 30 years of work X, and one is preparing them for the future leadership, it may be helpful that they also they are trained into many of these. Again, limited opportunities to apply these skills. They have been a kind of less pronounced as far as the manufacturing sector is concerned. A similar one for the, and I would not like to repeat, because as the sectors keep on, expanding, we are seeing that there is a kind of a common set across sectors as well, that the essential skills turn out to be similar, yet the aspects of the need at differentiated level is something that is important. Once again, we find that despite the training even in the metals and minerals sector, the opportunities for application of skills acquired at the lower levels are something happened? Yeah. At the lower level, that skill is somewhat less, while at the same time the operations and management, communication, administration, these are turning out to be important ones. Coming to the services sector, the top ranking skills that emerged which are felt as essential. Again, sectoral knowledge, information and adaptation, and therefore adaptability becomes a kind of a skill set which will be important and which is a part of the behavioral skills. These soft skills are also seen as important, and apart from this, the aspects of financial management, and I would like to emphasize upon this financial management, because when you go through the report, you'll find that financial management from ESG perspective and also sustainability perspective becomes important. That is why we have said that the financial management also has to be decoded, and when we try and look out to these aspects, and then it becomes important to understand the nuanced perspectives of skilling for the middle manager. An important part, I once again reiterate, which has come across all the sector, is that there are fewer opportunities for application. Now that has come across uniformly across all the sectors. A similar one on the second set and the third set of skills, that these were the essential skills that were found to be important, and as far as the skill acquisition through current trainings, it is happening. Once again, the highlight is that there is a challenge of limited opportunities for application, even of the behavioral and the generic skills. I'll take 5 minutes more on the recommendations. What do we finally say? Let's adopt a sectoral approach. A uniform approach may not be as logical, but a sectoral approach, which means that all PSEs that can be clubbed within a sector, that would be helpful. And why do we also say this is that time and again it has come from the dais that we have to empower individuals, and through empowering individuals, organizations can gain and the country can gain. When we say this, in one of the recommendations, we've also said that for horizontal and vertical mobility within the company as well as across the sector, this is important that we take a sectoral approach. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to share this through our qualitative discussions with many of the people, some of the people who have just retired, and we did this exercise and shared this internally, is that they say that when we move out of the public sector, we are like revert, because the kind of variety and the richness of experience that the managers, the middle managers and the leadership from here take along with themselves is valued for the sector. So it is not just about that, retiring at 60 or 62, but then, one is continues to contribute even beyond that. One important thing that I would like to stress upon, and since many director HRs are here, is about the importance of building the skilling and training program and linking it with the National Skills Qualification Framework, and making the colleagues realize the slight difference that lies between the theoretical and professional skills, the generic skills, and the behavioral skills. Why do we say this? Because many a time when people responded, they were responding the same skill set across these three categories, which means that one needs to work upon this. Already shared this on this, but what is important is that as far as the practical application is concerned, it is important to look at the enhanced strategic environmental management. Now that is one part, the strategic management. Why don't we introduce a layer, strategic environmental management within, and how does the company and therefore the sector engages with it. I've already talked about the financial management a minute back. It is important for the senior management to be again process oriented, and because a lot of compliance related challenges have to go from their desk and from their offices. Hence it becomes very important for the senior mid management to be trained on those. And as I said, let's harness the returns to investment by preparing our middle managers through movements across PSEs or wider industries. Some of the, now sector specific, very quickly, security skills, both asset security and the cyber security are important for the stability, renewables, in operational efficiency. All the managers, they are skilled, they are getting training, they are applying these skills in operational O&M. However, one has to now weave in a very deft manner the whole aspect of environment, ESG, sustainability, the green skills as far as the O&M is concerned. Disasters has been one of the area, because many of these plants are large assets, huge investments of the government, of the country going in therefore, and you know, it ties up with both. It ties up both with the first point that we said on asset security as well as crisis preparedness and asset management. As far as the manufacturing and construction sector is concerned, innovation was an important part, and business development skills. Why? Because some of the sectors that we found was that the PSEs, that there was a challenge because they were also competing with the private sector companies for the same RFPs. And that is why the BD skills, the business development skills, turn out to be important, particularly for the middle managers in this sector. The circular economy again becomes very important, and particularly for the manufacturing, where a lot of naturally, as part of the process, waste is likely to be generated. So how does one create from waste to wealth and adds to that? Sustainability into project management frameworks and QA from the perspective of sustainability is something that one can get an additional markup on the products or the services, whatever we provide. We can charge a 3% extra till the time we can get this, and several studies have shown that the discerning consumer, the discerning customer is willing to pay that additional at least 5 to 7% if it is the QA assured, if it meets the ESG compliances, etc. Metals and mineral sector, broadly the same as it was for the manufacturing and construction sector. Important only from the point, also from the point of ethical governance and community engagement for sustainable mineral development. And that's where it is important from the ESG perspective and the new age part. Services sector, yes, they have been fostering soft skills development to improve client management, but what is important is that they have to look at better green and resilient service delivery models. How do you reduce your carbon footprint? If it's a service industry PSE, how does one reduce that? And that is an important aspect that would need to be looked into. So finally, a need for targeted programs that align functional competencies with sustainable outcomes. On the prerequisites for sustainability, one will have to include some of these, such as gender sensitivity, expand opportunity to apply these skills. Definitely on the relevance and appreciation on regulatory compliances, and prioritize the skilling on OSH, occupational safety and health, as now it is a new entrant to the list of FPRW. The last one is on, let's introduce a compulsory module. That's what we are recommending on ESG, sustainability, green and just transition. And across managers, it is all detailed out in the report. broader green and just competencies in the career planning for the middle managers is important. And finally, one needs to harness the symbiotic relationship between the academic institutions and the PSEs for better pedagogy and skilling needs. So while here we have the practitioners, there are others who are there also as experts from the leading technology and management institutes who could contribute to this whole agenda. And finally, broader green and just competencies are important. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Raj, for covering the subject in such a well-rounded manner. I'm sure that the participants are even more eager to read the report after your presentation. Now that we have heard about different aspects of skilling and also the study, let us hear about the relevance of this groundbreaking study for the public sector as employers, and also gain an insight into how the findings of the study can be applied by all of us. For this, I invite Mr. Ravindra Perez, Senior Specialist Employers Activities, ILO. Mr. Perez has led a distinguished career wherein he has proactively represented and collaborated with employers in domains of pertinence, and we at Scope have had the good fortune to work closely with Mr. Perez and his team in some very important areas, including women empowerment and now skills. Over to you, sir, to share your thoughts with us.
Respected Mr. Sandeep Kumar Gupta, Chairman Scope, respected Mr. Atul Soti, Director General Scope, respected Madam Michiko Miyamoto, Director ILO Country Office India and Decent Work Team for South Asia, respected Madam Rashmi Govil, Director HR IOCL, respected Dr. Nikhil Raj, ILO Consultant, members of the Executive Board of Scope, membership of Scope, representatives of Scope, special invitees, ILO colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Namaskar. Let me at the outset thank the Director General of Scope for the kind invitation extended to me to speak today on the relevance of this study for employers and the way forward. I think just now we had a very excellent review and a comprehensive account of the study from Dr. Nikhil Raj, our ILO consultant, who led this study from the inception. I do not intend to get into the nuts and bolts of this study, but I will try to look at it from a macro perspective in the context of how employers need to adapt to the changing needs of their businesses, and why skills of employees come right at the top of the list of priorities. Scope has provided much inspiration to the employer community through this study. I have worked and associated with employer and business member organizations for the last 25 years or more before I joined the ILO. All these organizations have been employer organizations for the private sector. It was after joining ILO Delhi office in 2015 as employer specialist for South Asia that I interacted for the first time with an employer organization which was exclusively for the public sector enterprises. It was certainly my privilege and really a special learning experience for me to be associated with Scope through ILO during the past 9 years. Scope has stood out as an exceptional employer organization. At an event like this, it is important to reflect on the question, what is the value proposition that an employer organization brings to the table to its members? An employer organization must be relevant, sensitive, and respond to the needs of its members. It must be a proactive partner to its entire membership. As we look at the progress SCOPE has made during recent years, we can undoubtedly say that SCOPE stands tall as one of the vibrant employer organizations that is already moving 2 steps ahead in seeking the needs of its members. The experience of ILO in its collaborations with SCOPE in the recent past has been the same. Let me just give one example before I move to the current study. In 2017, ILO collaborated with SCOPE to conduct a study on empowering women in public sector enterprises. One of the key aspects of this study was the setting up of a network of gender champions. 12 champions identified from the PSEs were trained to facilitate much needed dialogue within the PSEs on the findings of the study. One of the main findings of the study was the need for flexible work arrangement practices for women executives and managers, and the option of working from home. Consequently, the pandemic made working from home inevitable. SCOPE immediately pounced on the opportunity to test the impact of working from home on women executives and managers, and this led to another comprehensive study SCOPE conducted with ILO, for which we had a record number of 1,969 respondents. This study resulted in a useful set of guidelines formulated by SCOPE for the benefit of the membership on working from home. These examples show that SCOPE was focused not only on conducting comprehensive studies on important subjects relevant to membership, but is also interested in ensuring that it builds on what has been done before to have a very impactful outcome to its membership. Today, SCOPE has launched a report on skilling for future in PSEs. Why did SCOPE choose skilling? Quite apart from having its own reasons, I find that SCOPE has been extremely smart in identifying its priorities for the future. In 2019, ILO and the International Organization of Employers, which is called IOE, jointly released a report on changing business and opportunities for employer and business organizations. This report identified 5 mega global trends that are shaping the way businesses operate across the world. The 5 trends were technological and digital transformation, changing demographics, climate change, globalization, and shortage of skills. The report revealed that although the efforts to increase the skills of current and potential employees have been part of business plans for years, it needed revisiting in terms of scale and consistency for workers at all skill levels. It was further noted that employer organizations need to support businesses as they seek to improve the skills of their workforce through strategic interventions. The current study originated from a discussion the Director General of SCOPE, Mr. Atul Soti, had with ILO way back in 2022, when we were discussing India's strategic priorities for a medium to long-term recovery from the COVID crisis. The social partners in India identified 4 key priorities: inclusive economic growth and employment, protection of all workers, social protection, and social dialogue. It was acknowledged that skills cuts across all 4 priorities as it induces economic growth and generation of employment and affords true protection to workers, provided that they possess the required skills in a changing world of work. Thereafter, SCOPE made this proposal for the study that was undertaken and launched today. I find the findings of the study extremely employer-centric and focuses on competencies that are required for the future growth of organizations. The recommendations in the report are not only relevant to PSEs, but is also relevant to both public and private sector employees. Let me just highlight a few examples. The study advocates a sectoral approach to skilling, emphasizing vertical and horizontal mobility, acknowledging the heterogeneity of job roles. The shift from a one-size-fits-all skilling approach to a differentiated model is proposed. A resilient and future-ready workforce is deemed essential for a global adaptability. The study also reveals the need for skilling for just transition. It underscores the need for targeted programs aligning functional competencies with sustainability goals. Recognizing the importance of environmental, social and governance related compliances, the study recommends upskilling all cohorts of middle management in these skills. It makes a very important recommendation on the need to bridge the skills gap. It recognizes the need for a strategic overhaul of PSE's engagement with educational institutions. All these recommendations are relevant to employees and employers in general, as it cuts across sectors and industries, both public and private. What should be the way forward? The report has made some very important sector-specific skills strategies, which I am sure Scope will take on board as follow-up steps. It will be good to see how some PSCs would take on board these strategies and implement. This will also demonstrate on the part of PSCs the ownership on their part to a study which they have contributed. Responding to just transition has come out very strongly in the recommendations. In a time characterized by environmental decline and pressing challenges of climate change, the call for sustainability has become paramount for businesses globally. India is set on an ambitious path to net zero by 2070 and aims to create 500 gigawatts capacity in non-fossil fuels by 2030. Already it has surpassed its Paris commitments in raising the share of renewables in its energy usage. The recommendations of the report refers to some opportunities for the future collaborations between Scope and ILO on skilling for just transition. ILO will be happy to discuss and explore on these opportunities. Before I close, I would like to focus on some general observations on employment trends vis-a-vis requirement of skills. A fundamental change that has taken place in the world of work today is the shift from lifetime employment to lifetime employability. Sometimes we feel that we are trapped in a culture of qualification acquisition. Today, many young people are preoccupied with gaining knowledge and acquiring some qualification, as opposed to directing that knowledge towards a skill that would result in gainful employment. If I may quote a quotation from the Harvard Business Review article some time ago, entitled 21st Century Talent Spotting, I quote, open quotes, "Business is changing too rapidly to predict what competencies employees will need even a few years out. The question now is not what skills they have, it is whether they have the potential to learn new ones." Close quotes. I think this message came out very strongly from the dais also when we were talking of empowering workers. Today, continuous learning is becoming more important than knowledge acquisition. The profile of work is changing. Schools and universities need to reinvent fundamental techniques of imparting knowledge through learning, which envisages changes in attitudes and behaviors. Our study focuses on skilling for the future. We are happy to note the importance of soft skills being highlighted along with other skills in the skill strategies. There is a need to create a learning model that would promote cooperation over competition and a culture of shared growth from the kindergarten to the university. A culture that would recognize one's performance having an impact on the performance of his or her colleagues. In other words, standing up and helping each other to rise together. These values are much needed to develop the soft skills that the world of work desperately needs today. Finally, let me once again congratulate SCOPE for having taken the initiative to undertake this study, which is timely and beneficial to its entire membership. As an employer organization, SCOPE has been proactive in identifying the needs of members and responding very effectively. The subject of skills is so closely connected to education. Let me conclude with a quote from the late President Nelson Mandela on education. He said, "Education is the greatest engine of personal development. It is through education that the daughter of a peasant can become a doctor, that the son of a mine worker can become the head of the mine, that the child of a farm worker can become the president of a great nation. It is what we make out of what we have, not what we are given, that separates one from another." Today, SCOPE has a tool that is most valuable to its members. I am sure the members will make the best of it for the development of their organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Your enlightenment into how PSEs can benefit from today's study is certainly useful. Also, we would like to share that SCOPE is working on the area of climate change with GIZ, again one of the areas identified as one of the global megatrends, and we look forward to collaborating with ILO on the area of skilling for just transition. As we draw towards the end of the event that was filled with fascinating insights into the world of skills, I would now like to invite Ms. Rashmi Govil, Director HR, Indian Oil Corporation Limited. Recognized as an industrial relations expert, Ms. Govil possesses a deep understanding of nuanced functions in her field and has made significant contributions to the realm of HR. We request you to kindly share your perspective on the subject, especially as head of the HR function of a Fortune 500 company.
Esteemed leadership on the dais, Mr. Gupta, Mr. Sukti, Madam Michiko, Mr. Ravi, senior leadership, CEOs, CXOs present here, connected through the web, and senior leadership sitting here. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'm very grateful to SCOPE for associating me with this event. More so because today is International HR Day. So greetings to all of you for International HR Day. SCOPE couldn't have chosen a better moment to launch the skilling research study today, because it, especially for the HR practitioners, is a tool to work upon, is a tool to ponder upon. And today being International HR Day, what a day to launch it, because it brings the perspective together. So I was also wondering that how important this study is going to be where we stand today. If India is going to be aspiring to be a $30 trillion economy by 2047, if we are going to be looking at net zero goals by 2070, all of us have already declared our net zero goals by 2040 to 50. We are not the ones who are going to be actually pushing this goal. It's going to be the middle managers who are actually going to be leading the companies and the country to the aspiring and the ambitious targets that have been set. Now, it comes as a little bit of a eye opener to me that this middle management level what Mr. Nikhil Raj was again, Dr. Nikhil Raj, I'm sorry, was again and again pointing out that this does not realize the importance of sustainability, does not realize the importance of innovation. That came as a shocker, and business development. And then again, it throws that important aspect that they don't know how to relate the skilling to the actual work that they are doing. Now, these all aspects have given us a lot of food for thought, especially the HR fraternity, that something is going wrong somewhere. And studies like this bring together the entire perspective together, where to focus on, where not to focus on. So if we are going to be doing skilling initiatives which are going to be making an impact, this study is going to be the foundation to be building upon. But one of the good aspects which I really like when I was going through the summary of this study is, I'll read it out in toto. The study reveals a strong foundation in HR soft skills, indicative of an organizational culture supportive of teamwork and stakeholder engagement. Now, if we have a supportive and a behavioral, we already have a behavioral and a supportive culture, which would be the foundation to be making upon, this is what we need to capitalize on. So what I am trying to now say is that we have the right wherewithal. It's only that directionally we need to channelize what is already available with us. So they keep saying that learning is a continuous process, but learning may be a continuous process, but the applicability of learning, like Dr. Nikhil Raj pointed out, is way more important than just learning for the sake of learning. So now it is time to give direction to this learning. Now is the time to give applicability to this learning. The another important aspect which comes out of the study is their outlook of sectoral skills requirement. This gives an opportunity to collaborate. And what better forum than Scope, which has access across all sectors. So when we talk of collaboration, we have Scope over here, which is ready to, more than happy to collaborate with us. And I'm grateful to Mr. Sokti for taking such initiatives which give an opportunity to collaborate. Then another important aspect which middle management levels have given over here in the study is it gives you room for succession planning, because your succession planning initiatives start at middle management, where you start identifying your leaders. So that is another connect which this study provides when it talks of middle management as the focus area. And I don't think normally we do not top leadership studies, we do junior leadership, what is required from the training institutes, educational institutes. But for the first time, I'm very happy to say that somebody's looked at to the most neglected workforce, which is the middle management. So that also is a very great initiative. And the last point which I would like to make is that they say leading companies like Amazon and Google spend 3% of their revenue on skilling. And I don't think any of the PSU is remotely even close to that. So that means while we are very proud of all our training budgets and learning budgets, I think that budgets need to be re-looked into its applicability and into its spend, because training is not a cost, it's an investment. It is the investment which we are making in our human capital. And last but not the least, who else would be better to do this study than International Labour Organization? Who better to understand labor workforce? They've been doing so for decades and decades, and I don't think there could be any platform better to have been undertaking this study. So I'm very thankful to Scope as well as ILO for doing this tremendously great job, which will then now be a document and a Bible for us to be working upon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for providing a practical insight into the skills landscape and highlighting the significance of giving direction to the learnings from the report. With this, we formally come to the end of the event that was filled with intriguing findings and perceptive insights. We trust that the event has been meaningful for all the participants here with us today and for those who joined us virtually. But before we end the program, we would like to express a heartfelt gratitude to the dignitaries on the dais for their valuable time and insightful addresses, which I'm sure has not only clarified many aspects pertaining to skilling, but has also served food for thought to all looking to apply the study. We would also like to express our gratitude to Dr. Nikhil and his team along with the ILO team, including Vaibhav, Ruchira, Gabriel, and Yukari, for their continuous cooperation. We are also thankful to all the participating PSEs who nominated representatives for contributing to the study, which would not have been possible without their engagement. We also thank all the participants present here with us today and those who joined us virtually. Your presence is very encouraging indeed. Last but not the least, thank you to the SCOPE team for dedicatedly working on the project and ensuring a comprehensive and thorough approach throughout. We look forward to all of you exploring the study and trust that it shall enable the fraternity to enhance their skilling initiatives and serve as a stepping stone to ensure a workforce that is ready to embrace the dynamic future. Thank you all once again. We would now request you to join us for lunch. Thank you.